You're back with the deep dive, where we really dig into complex source material to pull out the essentials you need.
And today, uh, we're tackling something I think a lot of English learners run into.
Definitely. It's that situation, right? You've learned the vocabulary, you've maybe even got the grammar down pat.
Yeah, you feel pretty confident with the textbook stuff.
Exactly. But then you step into a real conversation,
Yeah.
maybe just some quick small talk, or trying to turn down an invitation politely.
Or even just ending a phone call without sounding abrupt.
Right. And suddenly you freeze. The words just aren't there, or they don't feel right for the moment.
It's a super common feeling, and it happens because, well, language isn't just a list of words you memorize.
It's more like a social script, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you don't know the lines for that particular scene, you're kind of lost.
That's a perfect way to put it. Our sources today are basically a collection of these scripts, dialogues from all sorts of everyday and professional situations.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We want to get you past that conversational hurdle.
And what these dialogues really highlight is that context is king. The situation tells you what language to use. Knowing the right functional phrases for, say, greeting a new neighbor versus dealing with a difficult colleague. That's the difference.
Between sounding like you're translating in your head and actually sounding fluent.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It makes you sound genuinely fluent and, frankly, well-informed about how things work socially, which brings up the big question.
How do you take all that knowledge you have, the grammar, the vocab, and turn it into language you can actually use in the right situation?
Yeah, how do we make it actionable?
Well, that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We want to give you the map, not just the dictionary you already have. We've broken it down into 5 key areas.
Sounds good. Where do we start? First up, those crucial first moments, social icebreakers, bumping into people unexpectedly, getting that initial interaction right. Okay, the foundations.
Then we'll get into let's call it the art of social politeness. Compliments, saying no without causing offense, making small talk.
Ah, the delicate stuff. And I think our sources had some interesting cultural points there too, especially around things like social drinking.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. After that, we look at how English handles celebrations and traditions, holidays, birthdays, that kind of thing.
Got it.
Then section 4 is all about practical, functional communication, logistics, asking for and offering favors, apologies, the nuts and bolts.
The transactional language, basically.
Exactly. And finally, we tackle the professional world.
Yeah.
Appointments, asking for leave, promotions, even quitting. High-stakes communication.
So, from neighbors to the negotiation table, pretty much. Get ready to upgrade your social operating system. Let's dive into section 1. Mastering first impressions. Okay, so first impressions, introductions. It all starts here. Our source material gives us a really clear example with Lisa meeting her new neighbor, David.
Right, and it's quite formal but functional. Nice to meet you. I am Lisa, your new neighbor. Simple, clear, establishes who she is.
It's friendly, non-threatening, does the job perfectly. But what's interesting is what happens next.
Yeah, Lisa mentions she's from China. And David doesn't just gloss over that. He asks something quite specific.
He asks, are you used to the life and the weather in America? Which is, more than just, how are you?
It shows consideration, doesn't it? It acknowledges her transition, that she's in a new environment. It sort of builds a bridge.
Exactly. It signals empathy. And Lisa's response is also key. She says, frankly speaking, not yet.
Honest, but polite. Not overly negative.
Right.
And David's reply seals it. No problem. It's a matter of time. It's comforting, supportive. It smooths over any potential awkwardness from her admission. It's like a mini script for supportive interaction, isn't it? Question, honest answer, reassurance.
Perfectly structured. You need that reassurance phrase ready.
And then there's the exit. This is where learners often get stuck ending a chat without being rude or awkward.
Yes. Lisa doesn't just say, gotta go. She gives a reason.
Oh, how time flies. It's time for me to pick up my little girl. It's specific, it sounds genuine, and it's a perfectly understandable reason to leave.
It's a functional exit. That's a really useful tool, having a polite, concrete reason to end the conversation gracefully.
It really shows how even simple chats have this underlying structure, this management aspect.
Definitely. Now, contrast that with the other neighbor dialogue between Kate and Jack Chen.
Right. This one feels different. Less formal introduction, more recognition.
Yeah, Kate says, "Your face looks familiar to me." That immediately shifts the dynamic.
And Jack confirms the connection. He's the best friend of my father.
And boom! They skip the whole formal icebreaker phase. They're straight into catching up because they have this shared history.
So knowing how to use past connections is like a shortcut to rapport.
Absolutely. It accelerates the intimacy.
Okay, so that's planned meetings. What about bumping into someone unexpectedly? On the street, maybe?
Ah, the accidental meeting. The language totally changes gear here. It's all about expressing surprise.
Like fancy meeting you here, or the classic small world, isn't it?
Hmm.
Those phrases kind of acknowledge the surprise for both people, don't they?
Exactly. They're mutual confirmations.
Right.
Then the conversation usually pivots quickly to context.
What are you doing here on business, trying to figure out the situation?
Right. And the answer really dictates what happens next. If it's business, maybe it's a quick chat. Vacation might be longer, more personal.
And our sources showed that sometimes these accidental meetings can dive into pretty personal, even difficult territory.
Yeah, there was that dialogue between John and Jack talking about family stuff.
It got heavy fast. Mention of a parent's divorce and the father
Yeah.
shacking up with a young woman.
That phrase itself, shacking up, signals a very informal, maybe even judgmental tone about the situation.
Definitely. So how does the language handle that? That's where fluency is really tested,
Mhm.
right? When the news is awkward or upsetting.
This is crucial. The source dialogue describes the news as potentially ugly, but the required response isn't about agreeing or judging. It's about empathy.
So you need that stock phrase ready.
You absolutely do. Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear this news. It provides sympathy, emotional support, regardless of your personal take on the father's actions.
The goal is relational stability, even when the topic itself is unstable.
Precisely. You offer that sympathetic closure.
And just quickly, before we move on, let's touch on formality again. Register.
Good point. We saw the difference between a very formal, "How do you do, Miss Lisa?"
Which feels quite stiff now, maybe a bit dated.
A little, yeah, compared to the much more common, casual, "This is my friend Mike." But there was that other phrase that stood out. "It's nice to meet your acquaintance." Ah, yes, acquaintance. That signals something different, doesn't it?
It feels very formal, like there's a significant distance between the speakers.
Exactly. It's not a friend, maybe not even a colleague you know well. It implies a high degree of politeness, maybe used in very formal business settings or diplomatic circles, perhaps.
So for you, the learner, recognizing that word choice acquaintance instead of just meet you tells you you're operating at a very specific formal level.
Mastering those subtle shifts in register is a huge part of sounding truly natural and appropriate in different contexts.
Okay, moving on from first meetings. Let's talk about keeping social interactions smooth. Compliments, refusals. The everyday dance of politeness.
Right, the social maintenance tools. And compliments are a great place to start. The scripts for giving and receiving them can be surprisingly specific, culturally speaking.
The examples in the source were quite detailed, weren't they? Not just nice sweater, but that sweater goes beautifully with your pants.
Yep.
Or commenting on the fit of a coat, it looks terrific on you. That specificity makes the compliment feel more genuine. Shows you actually noticed. But the reaction to the compliment is where it gets interesting, especially comparing cultures.
Definitely. In many Western contexts, a simple thank you is fine, but our sources hinted at contexts where that might feel a bit boastful.
Yeah, like you're agreeing too readily with the praise. So what are the alternatives shown?
Well, one common tactic is the self-deprecating response, like, "You won't believe it, but it is really cheap."
Ah, the classic downplay. Accepts the compliment, but minimizes the object's value or deflects the credit. Keeps you humble. Exactly. Or another one, slightly more direct, but still softening it. Thanks, you flatter me. Okay, so acknowledging the positive comment, but framing it as maybe a slight exaggeration. Again, avoiding arrogance.
It's all about social harmony. And we saw specific compliments too, like being called a good bargainer. That's high praise for a skill.
Or you look young for your age. Always met with that kind of polite deflection, right?
Pretty much. These phrases are like social lubricants. They just keep things running smoothly.
Okay, lubricants are good. But what about when you need friction? When you need to say no? Refusals are tough.
Oh, they're definitely a major stumbling block. Learners often default to being too blunt because they lack the nuanced phrases.
The source had a great example of an evasive refusal, didn't it, when someone was invited over to visit parents?
A masterclass in indirectness. The person doesn't just say no. First, the parents are too busy.
Okay, excuse number one.
Then the inviter suggests the weekend instead. Response. Sorry, that's taken too. Excuse number two.
Dragging it out, exactly. It's a slow burn refusal that finally lands on the slightly more definitive but still buffered line. Well, I'd rather not if you don't mind. It is polite, it saves face. But I have to ask, isn't that also a bit inefficient, maybe even passive aggressive? Couldn't it just frustrate the person asking?
That's a really sharp observation. And yes, in some cultural contexts, especially fast-paced or very direct ones, that level of evasion could absolutely be seen negatively. It could waste time, feel insincere.
Right, like just tell me.
But in the context presented, the priority is clearly maximum face saving for both parties. Avoiding the direct no prevents potential embarrassment or awkwardness for the host. It's a trade-off. You risk a bit of frustration for the sake of preserving harmony.
Okay, calculated social risk, so that's the evasive route. But then there was the other refusal example, declining an invitation to the English corner.
Ah, yes. That one was much more direct.
I don't want to go, and that's that. Pretty blunt.
It is blunt, but the key is what happens immediately after. The conversation doesn't stall in awkwardness. It pivots.
It shifts from the social invitation to advice.
Exactly. The focus becomes educational. The person refusing gets this piece of wisdom. If you don't dare to speak English owing to being afraid of making mistakes, you simply will never master English.
Hmm.
So the abruptness is kind of okay because it leads into this constructive, almost philosophical point about language learning.
Right. It reframes the interaction. It's less about rejecting the person, more about addressing the underlying fear. It actually teaches you, the learner, that making mistakes, being vulnerable, is essential. Okay, interesting pivot. Now, shifting to lighter stuff. Small talk. Weather's always the classic, isn't it? Always. We saw the London versus Beijing comparison, sunny, rainy, hot summers. Standard stuff.
But good small talk needs that little hook for the other person, right? It needs to move beyond just fact.
And it does through personal preference. I prefer autumn. Oh, I like autumn in spring too. That gives the other person something to respond to, share their own view. It opens the door. And sometimes small talk leads to an actual invitation.
Like the drinks example. May I have the pleasure of buying you a drink? Quite formal, sets a polite tone.
And then the negotiation. Vodka's too strong. Shanghai cocktail is a good idea. Specifics matter. And notice the host immediately adds value. There is a floor show in our lobby bar. Would you like to see it?
Planning the whole experience, not just the drink. Good hosting.
Shows initiative. But this leads us to probably the most culturally loaded exchange. The pressure around drinking alcohol.
Right. Someone refuses because it makes my face turn red. A physical reason.
But the counter-argument isn't about taste or health. It's purely social.
The source says, if you refuse, people will think you are too conservative.
Wow. That's a direct window into an implicit social rule in that context. The objection isn't logical. It's about social perception. So you need to understand that the conversation isn't really about the alcohol itself. It's about fitting in, performing a social role. Precisely. And the advice given is stark. At least get used to it, and better to have a couple of glasses. It's basically cultural integration advice, not drinking advice.
Exactly. It's saying you need to perform this ritual to meet the social expectation, even if you just sip it. Understanding that hidden pressure is arguably more crucial for fluency in that situation than perfect grammar. All right, let's talk celebrations. Understanding how a culture marks special occasions tells you a lot. Holidays first.
Yeah, the source material covered the standard greetings, Merry Christmas, have a nice Thanksgiving. Pretty straightforward. And the conversations around them often involve simple plans, having some friends over, taking it easy, maybe going to a relative's place. The common thread, which the dialogues pointed out, is that the holiday is a time of family reunion. That seems to be the underlying why.
A universal theme. There was also that little fun bit about Christmas songs.
Oh, yeah. Distinguishing between Jingle Bells and the Little Drummer Boy song?
With the clarification that Little Drummer Boy isn't really a Christmas carol, just a popular song sung around Christmas.
It's that kind of cultural trivia, isn't it? Being well-informed means knowing these little details sometimes.
Adds to your conversational toolkit. Now, birthdays offered a really interesting cultural contrast.
They did. The Western focus mentioned was often on turning 21.
Right, the legal drinking age in the U.S. So the celebration is tied to that milestone, often involving bars. It's a legal and social marker.
But the traditional Chinese practices detailed were quite different. Very symbolic.
Focused on longevity, especially for older people. Cooking long-lived noodles.
Which symbolize a long life, obviously.
And preparing longevity peaches.
Yeah.
And the crucial detail here for you, the learner, is what they are.
They're made of wheat flour, and they look like real peaches.
Exactly. It's not about eating a peach. It's about the shape, the symbol, crafted traditionally from flour. Understanding that unlocks the meaning. It highlights the tradition, the craft. Okay, then there was the birthday party scene. And the classic social hurdle, dancing. Ah, yes, the encouragement given to the hesitant guy. She isn't going to bite you.
Huh. A very blunt, playful idiom, just meaning, don't be scared, go ask her. And the friend's response, full of bravado, just a piece of cake. Ah, another great idiom, meaning it's easy, no problem, shows confidence, maybe a bit of swagger, good casual slang to know.
Definitely projects that effortless attitude.
Sure.
Okay, rounding out celebrations, baby showers and housewarmings. The source tackled a practical question about baby showers. Why have them before the baby arrives? And the answer was just practical, because the mother-to-be has more energy before the baby's birth. Makes sense. Simple logistics. And it gave us some useful gift vocabulary, too. A stroller, a baby sleep monitor system, practical items.
And for the housewarming party, the source mentioned they can go late, until 2 in the next morning.
Some parties are marathons. But also, that social script around bringing gifts came up again.
Right, the host insisting, don't bring anything, it is unnecessary.
And for you as a guest, navigating that can be tricky. Often respecting the host's words is polite, but
a small token gift might still be expected or appreciated depending on how close you are.
Exactly. It's another one of those nuanced social rules that isn't always explicitly stated.
All right, let's shift gears into very practical, functional language. The kind you need just to get things done, travel, favors, sorting out problems.
Yeah, the transactional side of English. This is where clarity is often really key, starting with asking for directions.
Need those polite opening phrases down. Excuse me, can you direct me to?
Or slightly more formal, could you please tell me how to get to? And the answers are usually direct commands. Go straight ahead, turn left at the first light, it's over there.
Right.
And the dialogue examples gave that useful distinction. Is it walking distance? A few blocks.
Or do you need transport, like take a number 10 bus?
Yeah.
Giving the asker useful options.
Empowers them to choose. The taxi dialogues were also good illustrations of context.
Yeah, if the driver's picking up their kid, the passenger says they're in a hurry.
Which justifies the driver suggesting a shortcut. Urgency dictates the solution.
But in the other scenario, the driver can't take the passenger to the airport because the car is taken. So the refusal is polite but firm. But importantly, it's paired with help. The next taxi stand is solve the person's problem.
Right.
Even if you can't be the direct solution yourself. Very functional politeness.
Okay, moving to asking for and offering help. Favors.
The way you ask signals how big the favor is, right? A simple, will you do me a favor? Versus the more hesitant, maybe for a bigger ask. I wonder if you could help me. And the ideal response seems to be immediate willingness. Certainly, sir. What can I do for you?
We saw examples of straightforward help printing copies, just 5 minutes. Offering business center services like fax or internet. Standard stuff.
But the borrowing examples.
Yeah.
That's where it gets more transactional, higher stakes.
Definitely. Borrowing money. Even just $100 for a taxi. The dialogue was short, but revealing.
The lender sort of sighs, you win, like they're resigned to it, and then immediately makes an excuse to leave. Don't mention it, I have something urgent. It subtly shows that even small loans can create a slight awkwardness or a need to disengage quickly. Interesting subtext. The car borrowing was even more complex.
Because it involves a valuable asset and specific timing, the request is for next weekend, and the refusal is instant and clear. I'm sorry, but it wouldn't be possible. No beating around the bush there. The stakes are higher, so directness is more acceptable, maybe even necessary. But crucially, the speaker immediately offers an alternative.
Monday or Tuesday, yes, I guess that would be all right. So refuse directly, but follow up constructively if possible.
That's the key takeaway. Direct refusal plus alternative solution equals effective logistical communication. Okay, finally in this section, apologies and thanks. Relational repair. The deep apology in example was excellent. It wasn't just sorry. No, it was specific. I'm terribly sorry. I really shouldn't say those words yesterday. And then taking full ownership, I lost my temper and it was my mistake in the first place. Moving from expressing regret to explicitly accepting blame, that's a proper apology. And the response is vital for smoothing things over. Actually, I never did take offense. It just absorbs the apology and resets the relationship instantly, puts it back on stable ground.
And for expressing really strong gratitude, like getting a job recommendation.
The language needs to match the significance. I really don't know how I can thank you enough. And explaining the impact, you helped me rebuild my self-confidence, showing the profound effect of the favor. That elevates the thank you beyond just politeness and the perfect humble response to that kind of high praise.
It was the least I could do.
Again, that modesty, framing significant help as a small thing. It completes the interaction gracefully. Okay, final section. And maybe the most critical for many learners, the professional sphere. Language here is precise, often contractual. Mistakes can have real consequences. Absolutely. Let's start with appointments. Making, changing, keeping them.
Making one begins with the purpose. The source mentioned technical cooperation. Then suggesting a specific time, right? The scheduler proposes, shall we arrange the time on Thursday morning? Takes control, avoids vague back and forth, but business is full of disruptions. So changing appointments. The source gave reasons. I must meet someone at the airport. Standard professional clash.
And rescheduling isn't always easy. I have another appointment. I will attend a meeting tomorrow morning. Conflicts pile up.
So when an immediate new time isn't possible, what's the professional way out?
What do you say if I call you as soon as I'm free? It confirms the intent to meet, but shifts the burden of finding the slot back to the person who needed to reschedule.
Keeps the ball rolling, but parks the scheduling task for a moment. Okay. And keeping appointments. Punctuality is paramount. The dialogue highlights this with the compliment. You are so punctual.
Oh.
And it's immediately linked to a core business value via that proverb.
Keeping on time is the soul of business. It's not just about being polite. It's about reliability, integrity, trustworthiness. Huge in the professional world.
Definitely sets the standard.
Okay.
Moving inside the workplace. Asking for leave requires a good reason. Two scenarios came up. First, a major life event. Preparing for a wedding. Needs 10 days, requires paperwork. Understandable. The second was more about negotiation, needing to attend a sister's wedding, which requires switching shifts.
And notice how the requester justifies it. They remind the manager or colleague that they previously covered a shift when the other person was ill that day.
Invoking past cooperation. Framing it as balancing the scales, paying back a favor, smart tactic, makes it harder to refuse.
Exactly. Now, promotion. What language signals you're worthy?
The criteria mentioned were things like working hard nearly every day, handling a heavy workload, being always responsible and careful, showing exceptional performance.
Pretty standard performance review buzzwords, but they form the linguistic template for what gets recognized and rewarded in that environment. Knowing those phrases is key.
Now, the resignation dialogues, these were really insightful about handling conflict in culture.
Two very different reasons for leaving. First, the noble exit.
Taking care of elderly parents who can hardly serve themselves requires moving.
Right. This reason is personal, unavoidable, and usually met with sympathy and well wishes. The professional relationship ends positively.
But the second reason, that was about conflict. An employee resigning because of a toxic leader, Mark.
Yeah, Mark pays little attention to working method and apparently tortures his team. The employee is calling out bad management directly.
That takes courage. And the language is quite direct, highlighting the leader's failures.
It's a moment of professional integrity, and the manager's response is absolutely critical. It's the ideal script.
The manager doesn't just accept the resignation. They recognize the real problem and says decisively, it shouldn't be you that decide to leave. Instead, it should be Mark to be asked to leave. Wow. Protecting the good employee, addressing the root cause.
Exactly. The manager uses language to empower the employee who spoke up and signals that toxic behavior won't be tolerated. It shows the organization values competence over bad leadership. That's powerful.
For you, the learner, that dialogue shows how language in professional settings isn't just about tasks. It's about upholding standards and resolving conflict effectively.
Absolutely. Okay, just wrapping up with office reception and business dinners. Quick points.
At reception, state your purpose clearly. I spoke with her about a week ago, and she told me to just stop by. Shows it's an expected visit, not a random drop-in.
Efficiency. Same for the business dinner. The host suggests lunch to kill two birds with one stone. Classic efficiency idiom.
And they mentioned needing an assistant for notes. Even social business meals have a serious documented side.
And finally, those fascinating cultural details about the Chinese banquet.
Starting with chicken because it supposedly bring luck to the guests, according to Chinese table culture.
Knowing that snippet shows cultural awareness, respect. It's not just about heating, it's about understanding the symbolism.
And ending with a ritual toast.
For our friendship. Cementing the business deal within that relational frame. It adds a layer of personal connection beyond the contract. Hashtag outro.
So if we look back across everything we've covered, from, politely borrowing a car to dealing decisively with that bad manager, Mark, the big picture becomes really clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's less about hunting for the perfect grammatical structure in the moment.
And much more about knowing the right functional phrase for that specific social play. Does this situation call for evasion, directness, empathy, a specific cultural ritual?
It's like having the right tool for the job. These phrases signal respect, they manage boundaries, they fulfill those unspoken social contracts.
It's amazing how much social strategy, how much cultural coding is packed into these seemingly simple conversational snippets. You're not just translating words, you're executing a social maneuver. Absolutely. So hopefully you listening feel like you've moved beyond just having that dictionary. Now you have a kind of strategic map for navigating English social interactions.
You've seen the scripts for starting chats, handling tricky things like drinking pressure or gift refusals, saying sorry effectively, managing professional challenges.
You've got that structural shortcut we talked about. So what does all this mean for your next step? Where do you go from here on your fluency journey?
Well, these dialogues are source material focused heavily on the spoken words, the explicit scripts. We saw the manager deal with Mark based on the employee's report. We heard the advice about social drinking.
Right, the verbal side.
But if mastering a language means understanding the whole ecosystem, what about the things not said? The nonverbal cues, the context that surrounds these words.
The silent language. Exactly. So here's a thought to mull over. What nonverbal cues, body language, timing, the subtle power dynamics in the room, the tone of voice that wasn't in the script, might be the most important things for you as a newcomer to figure out next? What silent signals accompany these spoken scripts in business or social settings? That's the deep water, isn't it? Mastering the unspoken rules that complement the words. A fantastic question to ponder.
It's the next layer of fluency.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into decoding practical English. We genuinely hope this map gives you more confidence and maybe a bit of an edge in your next real-world conversation.